the perfect steak? Well, for me, initially it's your meat selection, and there's nowhere better to select your meat than in a craft butcher shop. What I've gone for here is some sirloin. The key things about your sirloin is the proportion of fat that you want in the outer edge. That's key to the flavour. It's also key to tenderising the meat, and you often hear us chefs talking about the tenderisation and the marbling of a steak. That's those little specks of fat that you see going through your steak. So I've gone for sirloin. You can go for a ribeye. I love rump. I think fillet can be good, little overpriced. So for me, it's a sirloin, rump or a ribeye as your perfect cut. So the next thing about cooking the perfect steak is the selection of your pan. I use a Stellar pan, but here we've gone for a good thick based bottom pan, and you must do that to get good heat retention in there. And I'll always heat my pan dry. I'll never heat a pan and oil together. The reason for that is to get more temperature and more control into the cooking. So the first thing I want you to do is get your pan on and heat it dry. So while your pan is on heating, I'm going to show you how to do lovely healthy chips made using sweet potato. So very simply, what I want you to do, cut them into nice chunks, rough edges on them, drop them into a bowl. So to the sweet potatoes, 1 tablespoon of Donegal rapeseed oil, because it's brilliant and healthy. It's very low in saturated fat. So it's about a tablespoon. And the reason for this in the bowl is just to toss them around so that they're taken in the oil. And quite simply to that, I'm going to add some fresh thyme. So it's little sprigs that I'm taking between my finger and thumb, breaking off the sprigs, and the oil now will help stick those to the sweet potatoes. And now I'm going to go with a little bit of seasoning, just some fresh ground black pepper. The sweetness of these potatoes working with the pepper is excellent, and the lovely freshness then of the ground thyme and pepper. And there you have it. Just toss them around. They're ready for the oven, about 200 degrees. Preheat your tray first, dry. Toss these into the tray, and we're going to cook these for about 14 to 15 minutes. And during that period of time, we're going to finish out the cooking of our steak and our peppered sauce. So now taking your hot, preheated tray from the oven, you can hear that starting to heat. Spread out your sweet potato chips, and they're ready for the oven. Okay, so now that your pan's on, it's lovely and hot, your sweet potatoes are in the oven. What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of rapeseed oil into the pan, 1 tablespoon, and I'm not going to season my steaks. I prefer to season them after they're sealed, because the importance about sealing your steak is to seal in the nutrition, the flavour and the juices. If you do that, you'll get a lovely tenderised steak with all the flavour packed in there. So you'll see that I added the steaks away from me in the pan. Always add away in a hot pan, and then the sparks will go towards your splashback. So once they're placed in there, don't move them, don't agitate them, let them sit, let them caramelise up and let them crust, and that'll just take about 30 seconds to a minute. So as your steaks are in there cooking, you're going to make the choice. Do you want it medium to rare, do you want it medium, or do you want it well done? It's used buying the steak, it's your choice. It's good quality steak from your local craft butcher. What I'm going to show you now is how to test whether it is medium to rare, medium or well done. It's very simply is just take your left hand, and we're going to rest our thumb on our finger like that, and if you just press in there, you'll see there's a lovely soft resistance. So without any pressure we're doing that, but it springs back out. That's a rare steak. Then when you close your thumb in like that, we're going to get a medium because it's firmed up slightly, and then we're going to close our fist. The retention is more, and that's a well done. So rather than giving you times, this works much better, and it's how we're all trained as professional chefs. You will feel a little bit weird at the start doing it. Get comfortable with it, and that confidence will give you the ability to cook the perfect steak the way you want it. So good indication, regardless of how you want the steak cooked, that it's ready to be turned over is when you see this colour starting to come up the side of the steak, and then we're going to turn that over and look at the lovely caramelisation, that lovely nutty crust that you've got on your steak. That's so valuable to flavour and the lovely caramelisation that you're after. And now just let that rest, and you'll notice that there's no watery grey juice in our pan because our pan was hot, we've sealed our steak properly, and all the goodness, the juices, the nutrition and the flavour is in there. Now that I've turned them over, that's when I prefer to season my steak, because now I believe the heat will actually melt the pepper that you're putting on rather than it being a barrier at the start of the cooking. So loads of good fresh ground black pepper, because we are doing a peppered sirloin, and that'll now start melting in and giving lovely flavour to your steak. So I prefer my steak to be about a medium to rare. Okay, so I'm just going to test that again. Nice medium to rare. Feel the meat, don't go over the timing, feel the meat. And I'm happy that that's a lovely medium to rare. Now if you do want it medium to well or well done, I would recommend you just transfer it to the oven for another couple of minutes. So I'm going to take that off, I'm going to let the steak rest. And now what's left behind in your pan is the key to this sauce. That's what we call sediment. Sediment is the natural juices that are left behind after you've caramelized up the lovely steak. And to that we're simply going to add our chopped onions, our sliced mushroom, about a clove of crushed garlic. And what's going to happen is that's going to absorb in all of the flavour and sediment that's left behind. So the onion and mushroom are fantastic for that, absorbing in all the flavour. And it's going to get a light, lovely brown colour, and that's going to form the basis for our perfect pepper sauce. So now you'll notice the onion and mushroom have absorbed in all the flavour and sediment. You're getting a lovely brown natural colour coming in from the steak. And to that now I'm going to add some fresh ground black pepper because I want a lovely fiery peppery sauce. So as much as what you want, and always remember with seasoning, you can always add, but you can't take away. And now comes a lovely bit of flamboyancy, where you're going to add a very good cognac brandy to this. It's going to ignite up, it's going to flame up, and you're going to burn off that flame. Have a little bit of confidence with this, there's nothing to be afraid of. All you need to do is just burn off the alcohol with a little bit of naked flame. I'm using gas. If you have an electric hob at home, you can add the brandy in and just simply ignite it. After about 6 seconds, it's going to disappear. So, we ready? Here we go. And we're away. Now I can get the lovely French authentic flavour of a good peppered sauce. So simply to that, to be a little bit more healthy, I'm going to add a little bit of beef stock. And that's going to cool that down slightly. And now rather using what I used to use classically was loads of fresh cream, I'm going to use a half of creme fraiche and some fresh cream to this, and it's a little bit healthier. We're going to drop that in. Once that goes in, you need to stay with it, you need to work with it. And now we're going to get a lovely brown sauce starting to develop. It'll take about another minute or so. So while your steaks are resting, you've made your peppered sauce, your sweet potato chips are cooking in the oven. It's all coming together perfectly in about 12-14 minutes. The last thing I want to add is a couple of drops of Worcester sauce, because it just gives that little bit of fieriness and it complements the lovely peppered flavour that we have. You'll notice the sauce thickening up, so there's no flours in there. It's just the natural circumference that it has in the pan is allowing that to evaporate and to thicken that sauce slightly. And there's just a wonderful smell here at the moment. So that's us ready to serve the perfect steak with the healthy chips. I'm just going to heat up my plate and get my lovely healthy sweet potato chips from the oven. And look at that, that's what we're after. Lovely caramelization and a lovely dryness to our pan. And now they're perfectly cooked and they work fantastically well. The sweetness with the fiery pepperiness of our sauce and our caramelized steak. And there's our lovely warm plate. And onto that, simply just rest your steak on there. And now, I'm not a fan of putting loads of sauce over this. That lovely caramelization is a beautiful flavour, so we just want a little bit of our peppered sauce drizzled along the side of the plate. Our healthy sweet potato chips just arranged neatly on top of your steak. We're going to garnish that just with a little bit of beautiful flat leaf parsley, and to me, there is the perfect steak.